Good day, everyone, especially to you, Mom. For today's report, we will discuss our topic, which is the Spanish colonial period in year 1565 to 1898. Today's objective is to define the contribution of Spanish colonial period to the Filipino nationalism. The Spanish colonial period in 1565 and 1898 is to aim the Spanish colonization in the Philippines. The Spanish, at the first view, the Philippines as the stepping stone to the riches of East Islandist, or known as Spice Island. But even though the Portuguese and Dutch had foreclosed the possibility, the Spanish still maintained their presence in the archipelago. So, kung bakit tayo sinakop ng Spanish ay meron tayong may yaman tayo sa mga kasangkapan sa pagluto. Yon ang dahilan kung bakit sila sinakop tayong mga Pilipino. The Spanish colonial period of the Philippines began when explorer Magellan came to the island in 1521 and claimed it as a colony for the Spanish Empire. The period lasted until the Philippine Revolution in 1898, October 2018.
So good morning. On good manners on Spanish colonization of the Philippines, there were four aims of the Spanish colonization in the Philippines. First is to spread Christianity as evidenced by the will and testament of Queen Isabella, by the laws of the Indians, by the contribution of the missionaries, and by Spain's more than 300 years of colonial work. And the second is to generate wealth to support the Spanish government as evidenced by the imposition of taxes, monopolized agricultural products, forced labor called polo-wise servicio, where males work in the construction of roads, bridges, galleon, and churches. And next is the secular poetry of Spanish colonial period. Refers to composition in the Old English poems corpus that are not primarily concerned with Christianity. And second, secular poetry refers to works in the Old English verse corpus that are not primarily concerned with Christianity. It may include references to God, heaven, or salvation, but its primary subject is something other than scriptural narrative and sense like prayer or the like. And that's all.
Secular poetry example, Spanish colonial period. Example, Noli Me Tangere is an 1887 novel by Filipino writer and activist Jose Rizal published during the Spanish colonial period of the Philippines. Explores perceived inequities in law and practice in terms of the treatment by ruling government in the Spanish Catholic friars of the resident peoples. Next is El Filibusterismo. El Filibusterismo, also known by its alternative English title The Reign of Greed, is the second novel written by Philippine national hero Jose Rizal. It is the sequel to the Noli Me Tangere and, like the first book, was written in Spanish. It was first published in 1891 in Gint.
Mi ultimo adios, or in English it is My Last Farewell. Gandest and the writer Dr. Jose Rizal, before his execution by firing squad on December 30, 1896. The piece was one of the last note he wrote before his death. Another that he had written was found in his shoe, but because the text was illegible, it contains remain mystery. Florante at Laura is an 1838 awit written by Tagalog poet Francisco Balagtas. It is considered one of the masterpieces of Philippine literature. Balagtas wrote the epic during his imprisonment. Florante at Laura, the full title is Pinagdaan ng buhay ni Florante at ni Laura sa Kahariang Albania, or in English, The history of Florante at Laura in the Kingdom of Albania is an 1838 awit written Tagalog by Francisco Balagtas. He dedicated it to his former sweetheart, Maria Asuncion Rivera, whom he nicknamed MAR and is referenced to as Celia. It is dedication Cal Celia for Celia. The story is loosely based on his own biography.
Urbana and Felisa was P. Modesto D. Castro, who was born in Binyan, Laguna. In the first half of 19th century, he studied at the Colegio. Urbana and Felisa, an epistolary novel by Modesto D. Castro, written in 1864, has been highly regarded as privileged text for a number of reasons in the language of the colonized. And this book influenced generation of Filipinos before and after the war on the niceties of social behavior. And for you to know this story all about the two sisters Urbana and Felisa who exchanges letters about happening in their lives. Next is the Balagtasan. It's a Filipino form of debate done in verse, derived from the name of Francisco Balagtas. This art presents a type of literature in which thoughts or reasoning are expressed through speech. The Balagtasan is a traditional Filipino art form where two protagonists debate the merits of a team, one supporting it and the other arguing against it. And also, the Balagtasan was used by Filipino writers and the poets to express the most progressive and current political ideas then and to comment on contemporary social issues, and it was conceived as a tribute to Balagtas or Francisco Balagtas Baltasar, the literary giant of 19th century, wrote the famous awit Florante at Laura.
Since the national consciousness came from the careless who now regard themselves as Filipino, it was brought to its advent by three major factors. This is three major factors why Spanish colonization to the Philippines. First, economy. Second, education. And the last is circularization of parishes. The factors contributed to the birth of Filipino nationalism, which is the Spanish contribute to the Filipino. Ang dasalan and tuksohan, the original baybay, o dasalan o tuksohan ang kasalukuyang baybay, ay isang akdang isinulat ni Marcelo H. Del Pilar, Pedro Serrano Lactao, at Rafael Enriquez noong 1888. Sa pagsusulat nito ay ginagamit din ni Del Pilar ang pagsigasig panunulat na Dolores Manaksak, na kung saan ang layunin nito ay merong mga impormatibong ipapahayag sa mga kabataan. After the historical background of colonization of Spanish to the Philippines is after 300 years of passivity under Spanish rule, the Filipino spirit reawakened when the three priests Gomez, Burgos, Zamora were guilted without sufficient evidence of guilt. This occurred on 17th of February. This was buttressed when the spirit of liberalism, when the Philippines opened its doors to world trade, and with the coming of liberal leaders in the person of Governor Carlos Maria de la Torre. May mga tatlong pari na kung saan binigyan o hinatulan sila na kung na wala namang matibay na ebidensya, na kung saan ang tatlong paring iyon ay si Gomez, Burgos at Zamora. Hinatulan sila noong Pebrero 17.
King gali ko pas ka nakita. Ay karon.
The Spaniards were unable to suppress the tide of rebellion among the Filipinos. The once religious spirit transformed itself into one nationalism, and the Filipino demanded changes in the government and the church. propaganda movement in 1872 to 1896, this movement was headed mostly by the intellectual middle class like Jose Rizal, Marcelino del Pilar, Graciano Lopez Haina, Antonio Lona, Mariano Ponce, Jose Panganiban, at Pedro Paterno. The objective of this movement were to seek reforms and changes like the following: to get equal treatment for Filipinos and the Spaniards under the law. Second, to make the Philippines a colony of Spain. Third, to restore Filipino representation in the Spanish Cortes. Fourth, Philippinize the parishes. 5. To give the Filipinos freedom of speech, of the press, assembly, and for redress of grievances. Thank you for listening. That's all our topic. Good day.